is on here. How am I going to fit all the red stuff? Okie dokie. There we go. Cheers. Let me just get settled in here and we can hang out. Alright, so where are we here? Okie dokie, everything looks okay. I'm just checking all the softwares to see if we can achieve liftoff. Okay, yep, it looks like we're okay. So I'm kind of stuck up in the TarotLumination space station right now, and not much I can do about it, so I'm waiting for Elon Musk to come and send a rescue capsule, and I'll be fine in a little while. I got plenty of sandwiches, peanut butter, granola bars. It should be alright. So I got some beef jerky too. Hold on. Yeah, I got enough to last a little while. And plenty of water. Cheers and good evening. So, dear necessary truth. Well, let's go look. We might as well look at the chart. First of all, I want to acknowledge Gregory. You don't even have to show it if you don't want to, but thank you for your kind donation. You will get your reading accordingly. It is Sunday night, the 11th of August 2024, and the moon is nicely in the middle of Scorpio. It's kind of a challenging moon because of the aspects with Leo. But there you go. The aspects, some of them are always good, some of them are always bad. It's always a combination. I have a few notes, but let me just address what Necessary was saying. Okay, here we are at the TarotLumination Space Station Flight Planning desk. Hello, Love Triber. This is where the TarotLumination Space Station does all the deep dive observations out into the solar system, and using the ephemeris as the guide, of course. We just plug all this data into the TarotLumination master computer, press a few buttons, and kaboom, we get an astrodoodle, just like that. So, you're concerned about the 14th. Well, okay. Let's see, what, December? Oh, there's Capricorn. Let me just double check that one again there for you. Yeah. Well, it's a Sagittarius moon. Middle of it. So the Sagittarius moon will be up here. And that's just in a few days from now. That will be opposing the Gemini stuff. So we will see a big fat T-square here. We're not quite there yet, but it will appear. It'll wobble its way through like this. So there will be a triangle here and another big fat triangle here. Hi, Elizabeth. Okay. Hey, Elizabeth. Sorry I wasn't able to connect with you today. It's been a very challenging dealing with things at the moment. So it's just like a question of time. It's not that I'm trying to avoid the issues. It's just time and energy. That's all. All right. So, yeah. This is going to be very much, the 14th will be, let's see, the Donald Trump talk with Elon is on tomorrow night, and the after plays will probably go on for a few days. But that particular, when the moon is up there in Sagittarius, it's going to touch on the south node of Donald Trump right there. We've already discussed how this... let me just come back to all of that in a little bit here. Just want to go back to the very, very basic stuff. So you're pointing out the 14th in particular. I mean, basically, when you look at the chart here, everything, the whole month is extremely hyper stressful. It reaches a crescendo up here towards the full moon, which is going to be on the 19th. I should actually mark that in here. Oh, how am I going to write all this in here? There's not enough room. Well, let's just do it like this. Well, moon is going to be in Aquarius there. Well, I've already marked it. I'll just put it over here. Full moon. Okay. That's the 19th. But all of this, the whole thing is just, if you want to look at it this way, it's like a mountain. Think of this like as a mountain of stress. Over here is the foundation of the mountain. It's very, very, very big, very, very wide, and it's very, very steep and very, very tall. These are the most heavy stress factors, but we've talked about them a lot already, so I'm just going to let them ride for now. What we're going to feel is much more of the stress that's up at the pinnacle here. Okay, let's do it like that. Okay, it's up here where we're going to feel all the stress, because the farther up we go in this direction, the more and more we're dealing with the personal planets. Okay, so that the 14th, I mean the whole month, I mean literally the whole month, but it condenses. The most stressful episode will be right here on the, well, it's a collection of days. I guess you could say the pinnacle will be the full moon, because that will be the most obvious one, but everything else is going to happen at the same time. The build up and the lead out, okay, all of it is happening simultaneously, because that's I'm trying to illustrate here a pyramid on my little ephemeris chart. So we're going to feel it up here, literally feel it because of the moon, but just by looking around at the world, we're going to see that things are extremely shocking right now, very, very unstable, and quite frankly frightening. I'm having quite a lot of anxiety about all of this, and normally I try not to take it personally, but it is affecting me personally. The actual orb of influence is about 5 days or 10 days on each side of this, basically the whole month. I mean, if you wanted to, you could look at them. It isn't just a mountain, it's a massive, it's sort of like this. I'm trying to do the shape. It's not like this, it's really like this. So the middle of the month, when we're rapidly heading there, is going to be hyper stressful. There's a lot of, let's say, calendar moments that are coming up. I'm trying to think of some of them offhand. For example, let's see. Well, Necessary has already pointed out in a couple of days, the moon's going to be over here in Sagittarius. That's basically Tuesday-ish, Monday and Tuesday-ish. And Wednesday, we've got switch into Capricorn already. Sorry, switch into Sagittarius. So that's going to be the middle of the week. During the middle of the week, we're going to have a huge, massive, really ugly grand cross. Grand square, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it's a red square. Red, 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 red. Okay? It's probably the most stressful alignment that you can get, and it's highly, highly targeted. I'm using that word specifically, targeted on Donald Trump. On the other hand, it's a very, very, very powerful alignment for Donald Trump in that it adds rocket fuel to his existing abilities to be able to identify all these other massive stress points here. He's coming from the wisdom of many, many past lives, vast experience in life, in the world, and everything, which I believe has allowed him to become very much a larger-than-life creature today here in this particular lifetime. And effectively what he's doing is he's taking all of his personal vast experience and knowledge, and he's bringing it down into coherent language for we the people to understand. And he uses plain language, typically quite blunt language. That's one of his trademarks, but of course that comes from the Sagittarius South Node. It's inevitable. So, yeah, brace yourselves. I don't know how it's going to pan out for each one of you individually. For example, anybody, okay, let's look at it. Okay, anybody with very powerful aspects in their charts already for the mutable signs, in other words, Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, and Sagittarius, you're going to feel it head on. I mean, you won't be able to escape the pressure. All four, Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, are going to feel it very strongly, probably the most strongly. In what way, what degree of accuracy, who knows? Now, the second layer of how we're going to feel it, because we're going to be building up to the full moon. Well, let's focus on that one. Tonight, we'll come back to this in a minute, but Necessary did bring up a very important point. So, it's not showing on the charts right now, but in a few days, this is going to be a big, fat, grand cross, and then it will fade out. So we're building up to that. It's a tremendous amount of pressure on Donald Trump and what he represents on the global scale. Because what's happening with Donald Trump is a global phenomenon. It isn't just some wacky weirdo election in America. It is affecting the whole of the global psyche, the global economy, the global military-industrial complex, the global, let's say, map regarding warfare. Donald himself is actually calling it out. World War III is here. We're basically in the opening chapters. And it's kind of unavoidable. I was just watching something a little bit earlier today. Actually, just one point I wanted to make, okay? All these stress points here, 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 and eventually here, but right now it's here. Let's focus here, 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 and here. They're going to become amplified by the middle of the week. All of these points exist somewhere in your own personal chart, okay? Somewhere this piece of sacred geometry is going to sit on top of you and your chart. Maybe if you're one of the lucky ones and you don't have any mutable signs, you might feel less of the impact. If you're loaded up with earth and fire, you might not notice it so much. Anyway, so really all you can do, hold on. So what do? It's just like watching the Weather Channel or something. What do you do when you see all these indicators for massive, massive turbulence, upheaval, chaos? How is it going to appear on Earth? Well, I don't know. There's the obvious stuff at the foundational level, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, but that's not even the Grand Cross. That's just Uranus being Uranus. The thing about Uranus right now is that it's in a very powerful, harmonious alignment with Pluto and Neptune. We'll come on to that in a moment. Right now, when you see these kind of big, fat red triangles, and soon we're going to have the big, fat Grand Cross. How am I going to illustrate a Grand Cross? There we go. Oh, what's it going to look like? Does that look like a square to you? No. No. I can't do it very well. No, that's a grand rectangle. Never mind. Anyway, think of a square. That square sits on top of you somewhere, somehow, and it will trigger those spots in your chart, whether you like it or know it or not, depending on your own identity and how closely you connect and relate to the planets and their influence. If you want to think of this channel as just like bringing random little weather reports, it could be, a good idea. Like Necessary says, bring an umbrella. Might want to have some hiking shoes. Might want to have some gloves. Whatever it takes. I mean, you could, start watching a few prepper channels. When things get very, very scary. Tremendous amounts of turbulence in the global economy, in the global infrastructure, the global food chain, global communications, global finance, all of it, everything that we take for granted that's operating in the background of our existence is going to be heavily, heavily stressed and targeted. I mean, it's happening right now in the United States. There are lots of sleeper cells from very, very hostile people who want to hear death to America. And so they're working very hard with their buddies overseas to try and coordinate this unconventional warfare to try and take down America. That's the plan. The globalist elite plan, alongside with the American military-industrial complex, is to take down the United States. That's why we see these very, very absurd behaviors here in America, where our leadership that's supposed to be, taking care of America is actively destroying America from the inside out. It's so obvious you can't deny it anymore. Anyone who's denying it is in denial, and I can't help you. So, hello, Diana. Gregory, it's very important to express these things. You've got to get the reality out in front of people. If people want to, they can ignore all this. They can just continue with their lives, whatever those lives are for those people. Someone like myself, I tend to watch this stuff very carefully because I'm concerned. I'm a concerned citizen. I'm concerned for America, concerned for the United States, the existence of America. I mean, just look at little old England. A lot of what's happening and happened in America over the last 250 years was heavily influenced by the British. Even though 1776 was all about giving the middle finger to the British royalty, it's still an English language country, and we operate primarily off British law and maritime law. But little old England, it's falling apart. It's basically heading towards civil war. It's very, very frightening. I would not want to be in England right now because the Islamist agenda has basically taken over. The British politicians are bowing to Islam. They're bowing to communism. They are bowing to the World Economic Forum. They're bowing to the industrial military complex, big pharma, big data, big telecoms, big media. England, I feel sad to say this, apart from an actual real-life civil war, I think England is finished as an entity. very sad. It's very frightening. And that same dynamic is happening in the United States on a much bigger scale, but there's also the greater possibility of more resistance over here. Okay? Yeah. It's freakish. I mean, here's another thing that I find really, really freaky. Have you noticed this? A few weeks ago, Joe Biden basically disappeared. The last I ever saw of Joe Biden, he was riding his bicycle. I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was this morning. He was riding his bicycle over in Delaware on the beach, waving to some of the people and the neighbors. But otherwise, he's basically gone. He's gone. He's still the president of this country, but he's just absent. So who's running the country? Who's running the White House? Kamala is out there. She's the vice president. She should theoretically take over if Joe is incompetent or unable to be the president. But she's not. She's out there campaigning. Basically, I mean, it's really, really absurd to watch. It's disturbing, weird, shocking. I don't know, you've probably seen all the artificial intelligence generated imagery regarding the Kamala events. It's bizarre, absolutely bizarre. The famous image is the one of the United States, Air Force One, Air Force Two, parking for, was it Minnesota or Michigan or somewhere, one of the events. And it looks like there's a huge, massive crowd of tens of thousands of people there to greet her. But when you look up close in the images, very, very close up, you can see the reflections in the side of the engines in the body. And there's nobody there. It's just a few technical crew, a few agents to meet her and greet her, and that's it. A couple of things that also made me gag. As you know, I'm not really a fan of the Kamala Kabbalah waltz agenda. It's basically a communist agenda. She is literally she's hollow. That's why she's perfect, because she can be programmed by the deep state, the Obama regime and all of that. And just here in Las Vegas, was it last night or the night before? I can't remember. She was here, there was a crowd, and she started saying, "No tax on tips, no tax on tips." And of course, that's the Trump thing. No tax on tips, no tax on tips. And then if you just go back a few months, just a few months, you can see Kamala signing off on new tax agendas about how the IRS is going to go after tips for service workers. So she just says whatever she is told to say. Right now, I believe she's being told to literally mimic Trump. She's also being caught out saying phrases that sound very, very similar to "Make America Great Again." I find this extremely strange because that's not her. She's claiming she's going to clean up the border. She's going to fix inflation. She's going to basically do everything that Donald Trump has pledged to do. I mean, it's bizarre to listen to it. It makes my head spin. And yet, if you just backtrack, do the retrogrades, backtrack a few weeks or so, she was saying exactly the opposite. Everything she's got, she is such a train wreck, but they get away with it. One of the reasons that the elites are getting away with it is because they can. The reason they can, I believe, is because of an extremely powerful astrological setup that is very, very beneficial to the most powerful elite of the elite cabal globalists, and their crew, their teams, all of it, the mainstream media, the George Soros, United Nations, World Economic Forum, the communist agenda. They're having a fantastic time right now because there's nothing to stop them. They are tapping into the extreme hyper-negative expression of Neptune in Pisces retrograde, simultaneously with a very unhealthy negative expression of Uranus and Taurus. Now this is all happening, there's also Saturn retrograde in the background too, but I'm just focusing on that little triangle. I'll just show you, hold on. This is what I'm talking about here. This sweet, charming, innocent little triangle here is an extremely powerful setup that benefits the elites at the expense of we the people. That's the astrology. That's how I would analyze it. So that's basically what's happening. They're doing it and they're getting away with it, and they don't care that they're being called out. I'm sure the Democratic National Convention people and the Kabbalah campaign are fully aware that they are perpetrating a massive fraud, but they don't care because they already know that tens of millions of Americans believe it. That's how sad things are. And even though it's all being called out day to day, day by day, by the alternative media, Kabbalah keeps going. It's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling to see. And then in the background, there's the other astrology. We're talking about it right now. That big fat red triangle, which is going to turn into a big fat red square. That's where all the bullshit gets called out. And one of the main themes of the storyline is how are we going to clean up the sewage spill that is Washington, D.C. right now. It is just a massive, toxic, nuclear waste dump of psychic, spiritual bankruptcy that smells like dead bodies and sewage. How are we going to clean that up? Not a lot of people want to go near that or close to it because they don't want to get affected or infected. But someone's got to do it. And right now, there's only a handful of people who are willing to step up. And if you do step up, you're likely to be assassinated. Look what just happened to Donald. Okay? What's that? Path Traveler would say, play the tape ahead, peeps. I haven't looked at the chat. Sorry, I've been missing the chat. Give me a second. Okay, so one of my big questions was, well, it's ongoing. It's an ongoing question because the fraud and the deception and the lies, the betrayal, the cover-ups are so massive, so obvious, so big and so bad that it makes you wonder, how do they get away with it? They get away with it because they can. It's mind-boggling. Look what's happening with the investigation on the assassination of Donald. What's happening? Nothing. The Secret Service, FBI, CIA, DC, Biden agenda, deep state, the military-industrial complex. Sorry, we really screwed up. It was terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I take full responsibility. I'm so sorry. That's really all they've got so far. In the background, of course, there's a tremendous amount of material coming up that's exposing the reality that this assassination was not just some random crackpot, kid who was groomed by a bunch of ISIS terrorists or something. No, 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 no. This was full-on deep state military industrial complex design to destroy this guy, Donald. They have to get rid of him. It didn't work. They're going to try again. I really believe they're going to try again. And so Donald, of course, is a little more careful now, but he's not going to stop being Donald. But the subject of violence is going to expand and increase. Right now, I think I mentioned the other day that in Chicago, starting on the 19th, that's really only, it's only a week from now. That's on the full moon. They're right in the pinnacle of that crisis point. Right there at that moment in time, that's the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. A lot of the world is going to be watching this. I check news from all over the world, from a lot of different sources, so long as it has English language and I can understand it. And they watch this stuff very carefully because they know it's going to affect them personally, their economy, their culture, their world, their livelihoods. So they're watching this. There's some very extreme, bizarre stuff happening in Chicago. So Chicago is now turning into, like, forget New York, Chicago is turning into the hub, the major hub for the insurrection. Not my kind of insurrection, but because I'm not an insurrectionist. But what's happening with the illegal agenda. So there's going to be fake votes, fake IDs, all this kind of stuff. There's going to be a tremendous amount of froth and fervor and activity surrounding this Democrat National Convention. It goes on for a few days. I think it's Monday, 19, 20, and 21. Now remember, this convention doesn't make any sense because Kabbalah has already been anointed. So why are they even having a convention? I guess it's just to celebrate and have a party. So that will all be paid for. There will be paid influencers, paid YouTubers, paid crowds, paid entertainers to come in to attract people to fill the stadium to make it look amazing. And they're going to make it look absolutely amazing. On the flip side, the Chicago itself is terrified. So they're planning ahead for a lot of mass casualty events. Firefighters, cops, emergency people, Homeland Security, whatever they're called, the militia, what are they called? The National Guard. They're all being trained. They're setting up triage centers all over to cope with what they see is going to be a potential bloodbath. And they're going to blame it on Trump, of course. If there's whatever happens that looks bad on camera, and they're going to want it. My feeling is that's what they want. That's what they want. And they can film it all, and they can say, "Oh my God, it's happening. We're actually looking at the first day of the Civil War in America." And they're going to stick it all on Donald. And they're going to say, you know what? That's it. We have to declare martial law. We can't have an election. It's stupid to have an election. We just need continuity of government. Things are too unstable. We have to lock down America. We'll have a new disease. All of that stuff. It's all planned out. Got to have another assassination. We got to figure that out. Oh, how is that going to happen? Ooh, it's going to be a little more tricky this time. Anyway. So, yeah, that's going on. I'm just gonna go here from my notes. I just got a few notes for tonight. I don't want to drag it on too long for you. What's this? Hold on, I gotta check the chat here. It's coming through. Okay, it takes a while for the signals from planet Earth to reach the TarotLumination station. Okay, so give me a second here. Diana, I already contacted you. I already sent you the information and the links and everything. I was waiting for a time to schedule. I can send it all again. Just send me a reminder. Fluffles, you donated. You want a reading about a place I frequent? Okay. Gregory has donated. Wait a minute. I thought Elizabeth as well. Did I see something from Elizabeth? Hold on. Give me a second here. I thought Elizabeth. Okay. Yeah. Kabbalah using the green screens. Yeah, it's pretty mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling. But that's the movie business, man. It's to create an illusion that feels real, even though it's all fake. When I look at my little notes here, these are just my little doodles. When I look at the charts, I pull up notes. I try to get correlations between what's happening in the world. I see this as a setup for war. And you've probably noticed very, very, very recently, I think I mentioned this just a couple days ago, Tulsi Gabbard. She wanted to be the president. It didn't quite work out for her. She was a Democrat. She's now a hardcore right-wing conservative type, ex-military. And she started calling out certain very awkward, very embarrassing factoids. And essentially what it came down to is that from her perspective, from her connections, and from what she observes happening in America right now, it's not Obama, it's not Hillary, it's not Joe, it's not Kabbalah. None of them are running the country. It's not the CIA. It's the deep, deep state military-industrial complex people who orchestrate what has to happen, and they put it through their network of eventually people that we see in the public eye. And all of that stuff in the background answers to, guess what? The money. BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, Blackstone, Fidelity, all of those, okay? We're talking trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. And they're betting on war. They're greedy. They can't help it. That's what they do. They want to make money, more and more money, and war is one of the most profitable ways to make a lot of money, big and fast, okay? So what I wanted to mention is that as of, is it tonight or yesterday, Tulsi Gabbard has now been put on some kind of federal terrorist watch list. It's official. She is now up there with the darkest, most evil of real terrorists. Oh, man. Also, you've probably noticed there's a direct correlation. Recently, Ukraine started receiving more support from the United States. They're heading inside Russia now. It's getting very scary for Russia, and Russia is retreating, evacuating towns near the border, which doesn't make any sense to an observer like myself. And what it tells me is that Vladimir is basically being very polite right now. He's just saying, I really, really, really don't want to do this. I just want to settle out. I want my piece of land that I've asked for, and I'm going to take it no matter what. So let's just call this quits. I'm perfectly happy to stop right now. Just give me my land. Give me my people. But that doesn't work for the MIC, the military-industrial complex. They want big, 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 big war. So that's the way things are getting set up right now. And it's escalating. That's the buzzword. Same thing in the Middle East. You know, that big, big war over there. As soon as I mention the word Ukraine, I know this is going to be demonetized. It's already demonetized anyway, so guess it doesn't really matter. I don't know. But anyway, with all the jets and the F-16s, F-18s, F-22s, F-35s that are being sent over to Europe, guess what's happening? The stock price of Lockheed Martin is going from like this. Whoa, whoa. Somebody's making big, big money. Yeah, I like Tulsi Gabbard. So it's kind of like a feedback loop. There's the Kabbalah Waltz team, which basically they can't function unless they are receiving their script for the day. They basically work for the military-industrial complex, which works for the money. And the White House works for the military-industrial complex, which is the money. So you have to question who's actually running the USA. There are people, there must be certain, like, actual individuals who are making the certain phone calls, text messages, emails, private conversations. Maybe they do everything with secret satellite phones or something, or maybe they do everything by paper notes and post-it notes and they tear it up and it says burn after reading. I don't know how they do it, but they're running the country. It's certainly not Joe. It's certainly not Kabbalah. Anyway, I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen with the meetup between Elon and Donald. Oh my gosh. That, I believe, is tomorrow night. So it'll be right at the tail end of Moon in Scorpio. So it might feel quite intense. We'll see. Yeah, things are hyper unstable. Global markets are hyper unstable. Economies, people are hyper unstable. China is imploding live, real time, as you know it. But you would never know because they're becoming more belligerent, more boisterous. And the propaganda machine is working 10 times more powerful than ever before. Because they don't want you to know how bad things are. They're still trying to take over the world. Hold on. Yeah, okay. Hold on, what was that? Donald wants a private reading before Monday night. I'll have to schedule that in somehow. Oh well. All right, so let's get on with it. Let's move over here. So pretty much everything that came out of my mouth this evening was a direct consequence of me just observing this and giving my impressions. There you go. I'm just calling it out and correlating what I see in terms of the storyline about what's happening across the world. The storyline includes certain heroes, bad guys, good guys, and everyone else. So let's, I gotta double check. So I know we've got, hold on. Bubba looks pissed. I gotta take care of Bubba here. So, we've got, hey Bubba, don't worry, I'm gonna take care of you right now. I have to prepare the post-it notes. We got Gregory Ross. We have one for Elizabeth Boucher, and we have one for Fluffles. I'll be right there, Bubba. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, put this all over here like so, and we'll come back to all of this in just a second. Hi, Bubba. I'll be right there. I should have given you some snacks before we went live, okay? Oh yeah. Okay, well we'll get the right order for all of this in a minute, but for the time being, I would like you to just enjoy it, chat amongst yourselves. please. Thank you for your patience. Hello, everybody. Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, Victor, the 17th. I was talking earlier about all that stuff, just in case. What I wanted to, one of the points I was trying to get across, Victor, and let me just do this quickly for everybody now that we're all here and settled. It isn't just one day in particular. This is a massive, ongoing stress thing. I mean, I'm taking my ephemeris and turning it this way, because this way, you can see way out here is the planets. This is Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Sun. Okay? So these are the personal planets over here, and these are the impersonal planets. The vast bulk of the stress is out here, but it's so deep and so profound, it's very, very hard to understand it at a personal level. What we see is global tectonic shifts in terms of politics, finance, and basically history. Okay? I think of it as 1776 revisited, because it is so tightly correlated with the birth of the United States, which was a complete shocker to the world, when Pluto was 27.5 degrees retrograde. We're still very, very close to that here. So we are still absolutely in the middle of a major, tumultuous, multi-year crisis point that pivots around the 0 degree mark between Pluto in Capricorn and Pluto in Aquarius. It's about a 3-year spread here. And I started with my book, Global Restructuring, January 2020. And I wrote that a couple of years before. But now we're here at the central point, very, very close to the center point, and we're going to go back into here, then we're going to go back over to here in 2025. It's going to take another year, basically, for Pluto to move purely, completely into Aquarius. So this is the epicenter of a major global crisis point. But this one is a particular crisis because there are multiple layers of crisis on top of crisis on top of crisis. So it looks like this. That's how I tried to illustrate it earlier on, okay, Victor? So at the very bottom of the foundation is this long-term, like 6 or 8 year crisis. But right now, here today, we're at this very specific point, especially the 17th of August, which is a crisis point. But the actual crisis point itself here, the 17th, is literally a week or two on each side, over here and over here. Essentially, the whole of August is a crisis point. There we go. Actually, I think it was a good idea that I repeated all of that. Okay, so let's see. Fluffles, you like to go second sometimes. Gregory actually booked first. Who is the most urgent? Let's have a look. I'd be happy to start with anybody. And you all came at different times. So, if anybody wants to go first, let me know. If somebody definitely does not want to go first, let me know. And then we'll go from there. How about that? Either way, I have to shuffle the cards. Cards are already well shuffled. All right, so I don't see any notes. Let's start with Elizabeth. Alrighty, here we go. Elizabeth, you are up. Take care, Victor. We'll see you soon. I really appreciate you hanging out here. I'm glad that you appreciate the astrology. We'll talk more about the big money stuff too. Okay, Victor? See ya. All right. Okay, hold on. My studio is falling apart here. Up in the space station, it gets a bit cramped sometimes, and you have to do some adjusting. We should be all right. Let's have a look. All right, here we go. All right, Elizabeth. Now, I know, because we've been working privately together, I know you're in some super stressful situations right now, but again, that's what we do here. We deal with these situations in such a way that you don't necessarily get the perspective that we get here. So it's a good way to get a sense of peace and calm and understanding that things are the way they are. And then it's just, okay, well, if that's how it is, how do we deal with it? Okay, so there you go. Cards are very well shuffled. So, of course, you know, Elizabeth, the best thing to do is trust and believe that you have some amazing invisible friends who love you very much, and they want what is the best for you, and they're not going to interfere with your life or try to, like, just make it, you know, fix everything for you. That's your life to live, but they are definitely here for you. I've got my invisible friends on hand, of course, and it really, really helps. Let's bless the channel, bless every card in the deck, bless the whole deck. Let's bless the computers, the monitors, the cameras, the lights, the cables, the electricity, the platform itself of, you know, YouTube and all of that. I saw your note there about somebody buying YouTube. Interesting. I know that Truth Social is setting up its own new stream thing. I also know that Rumble, where I'm trying to integrate, but it's proving to be much harder than I expected, and it doesn't have to be, but it is. So anyway, Elon and Rumble are both attacking GARM. GARM is already shut down because they're trying to reduce the amount of risk when it comes to litigation. They realized they got caught, so the whole social media and mainstream media arena has been exposed for the fraud that goes on, and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of money that's now going to have to realign itself more closely with truth, facts, and reality. All right, Elizabeth, you're up. We're going to figure it out, okay? We're going to find some light. What kind of messages do we have tonight for Elizabeth regarding her situation, her life? Okay, let's have a look here. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle things. And let's have a look at external influences, whatever they may be. Of course, I default to the planets normally, but we'll see. So we've got the World. Okay, so this is a kind of an epic card of new starts, new beginnings, but it's basically an indication that, I guess you could say, how am I going to... like what I would call a lifestyle package deal. Life, okay, let's put it like this. Life as you know it, some of the parameters, some of the ingredients of your life have basically reached, it's like the end of a movie. Okay, so that's it. So the question is, what do you do now? So with the World card here, it's understanding and accepting that a certain chapter in your life is basically over, and a new chapter is now opening up. And what does that look like? What's that going to look like for you? What does life look like going forward? And the important thing here is not to hold on too tight, because a lot of times people, it's what you call fear of the unknown. A lot of people are terrified of the unknown because they don't know what it is. They would rather, sometimes they call, the expression is, they'd rather have the devil they know than whatever it is that they don't know. I can't remember the expression exactly, but it's something like that. And so it's like people refuse to evolve. With this world card here for you, Elizabeth, I feel that there's a very profound message that's basically telling you your life, of course life changes all day every day, but this is a big one. Like a lot of the elements of your life are changing fundamentally. And what's that going to look like? Because going forward, you're heading into the unknown, new territory. You don't even have any notes yet about what that might look like. So let's have a look. Here's the situation itself. Okay, so let's just say it's a struggle. What you're dealing with right now is almost like an existential war, battle between like the world of expectations, dreams, desires, wishes, your dreams, and everything that you know that you're capable of being and doing. Because you're a very powerful person, okay, Elizabeth? You have overcome so much in your life that other people would have not been able to handle. But you've done it. And it's not over. See, the thing is with the Strength card, my feeling is that in some strange way, you're going to grow from all these horrific challenges. And it's kind of growth in spirit, where you become more and more an embodiment, a living example of what it's like to overcome the three-dimensional challenges of life in this world, where there's a part of you which, because you're very, very strong, there's a part of you where you would like to rip apart like a savage. You'd like to tear apart your enemies, all the people who've defiled you and hurt you, tried to destroy you and take you down. It makes you enraged, and of course that Leo strength energy there would want to just decimate the enemy. But there's the other side of you, which is basically calling out and saying, Elizabeth, you already know that it's kind of futile. Like if you take all the rage and the anger, the bitterness, the resentment, the tragedy, the frustration, and the pain, and you try to turn that around and stick it on someone else who deserves it, you know that's going to backfire. So how do you overcome those profound animal desires? It's very difficult. And so you have to lean towards spirit. What does God want me to do? What are my invisible friends telling me to do? How am I supposed to behave and live my life going forward in a way that is in alignment with spirit, with love, being loving, being loved? Because it doesn't make any sense in your three-dimensional world. It's sort of like, how could anybody explain that in terms of logic? There's no logic here at all, okay, Elizabeth? And yet, you move forward, because I've known you for years now, and I would say your personal evolution has been very profound, very obvious from the outside. I am an observer, okay, and I'm your friend as well. And you might not know it, because you're the person who is evolving, you know. So we're talking about very deep energies here, like Pluto energy. Evolution, very, very slow. The caterpillar to the chrysalis to the butterfly. In each case, the caterpillar doesn't know it's a caterpillar that's going to turn into a chrysalis. The chrysalis doesn't know that it's a chrysalis that's going to turn into a butterfly. The butterfly doesn't know that it's going to give birth to little baby eggs that are going to turn into caterpillars. It doesn't make any sense, but that's evolution. Understanding how life evolves and grows, you just do it. You just live. You're here to evolve and grow, to accept that certain aspects of your life and world are essentially over, and you're entering a whole new world. What are the challenges here? Okay, to me this looks very, very simple. You're feeling like it would be so nice if you had someone who was there for you, like a champion, who could be right there at your side and effectively, I would say, hold your hand through the process. Not hold your hand, but be. It's almost. This is kind of above and beyond the warrior energy. This is leadership, the energy of profound inspirational leadership. And my feeling is that you know deep down that this very powerful, healthy, beautiful, strong, classic male energy of leadership that demands respect, honor, integrity, patience, inspiration, joy, has been lacking. In fact, the people who are supposed to be there for you, like a paternal figure, for example, is absent. In fact, not only absent, but an enemy. So it's very, very tragic when you have something like this, so amazing, this beautiful King of Wands energy, that is in some ways your enemy. People who have hurt you, men who have hurt you, men who present themselves as amazing only to discover that they are monsters. It's very sad, okay? Now, how are we going to deal with all this stuff moving forward? Okay, so with the Devil card here, don't be frightened. With the Devil card here, I think this links very, very closely to the World card, because this would represent. See, Elizabeth, we've worked together enough that I know that you really, really value things like stability, security, comfort, beauty, nature, like a good quality of life, very high standards. You're built, that's how you're built. And yet you've had to, face unending challenges, one after the other. It's just over and over, in different versions of the same thing. Basically, horrible events happening externally that, why? Why deserve that? Why does that happen? And so, my feeling is that there's a lot of trauma here. Well, we already know this, Elizabeth. There's a lot of trauma that is associated with your past, your history, your life to date. And going forward in life is like a big question mark. How do we proceed? So what can happen is there's this thing. It's I don't know how it came about, but they call it Stockholm Syndrome. And it's a situation where people who have become deeply imprisoned to the point where they forget that they are imprisoned by life, by horrible people, horrible situations, horrible circumstances, that they begin to become friends and fall in love with their persecutors. And it becomes a powerful bond. It's a trauma bond. I'm sure you've heard of this, Elizabeth. It's a very, very powerful trauma bond. And I've noticed this before because I've gone through years and years of counseling because of my own issues. I'm going to go on the screen here. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to get back into the control module. So I think it's called a trauma bond. I mean, I'm going back years. I had my therapy, all my counseling stuff for all the stuff that I went through. It's years ago, years and years and years ago. And one of the things they talked about is a trauma bond, where the more severe the trauma, the more powerfully the victim is bonded to the person who perpetrates the evil trauma. It's like a very deep wound, and the victim wants to have justice, wants revenge. to make things equal again, to show the predator how much pain you have endured being a victim to their disgusting actions and behaviors. It's an extremely powerful bond. And the more and deeper the trauma, the harder it is to break that bond and release yourself and allow yourself to be free. You've already put enormous amounts of work and prayer and energy into growing up and above and outside the trauma. You've done an outstanding job, just spectacular job. But the wound, the deep wound, is there. It's just there. It's like a massive, massive scar tissue, and that's what I feel is going on here. Now, here's the beauty of the reading. Maybe this reading is just very, very simple. It's just a reminder that the trauma bond is extremely powerful. And at the moment, whether you like it or know it or not, the existential battle for your own freedom and to retain your own dignity and mastery and pride and justice and retain your sovereign self, the right for you to be you without interference from other people who would love to crush you. You've already done so much. You've progressed so far. But right now, I would say, probably because of the planets and everything, the trauma bond is very, very strong, and it's inside you, and you're dealing with just yet another situation which to somebody else might just be an ordinary problem. Oh, I got to deal with this shit, got to deal with that crap, got to blah, 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 then get on with my life. But what's happening, I feel, is that it's triggering the trauma, okay? And so you end up and you realize, oh my God, wow, it's true. It's very, very difficult to break that trauma bond. And I think at the very, very deepest level right now, you're going through an episode where you're deeply attached to the life that you have known, okay? The history, the past. But this is a very powerful reading that indicates there's another life unfolding for you, ahead of you, where this energy will diminish. I don't think it'll ever completely disappear, but you end up where this energy, it gets gradually replaced by this energy, okay? And that's a very powerful male force. It's like tapping into your masculine side, reminding yourself that in order to achieve mastery at this three-dimensional life in this world, it's a battle, and the battle is inside yourself. Yes, the crime and the evil was perpetrated externally onto you, but in the end, you are the one who's suffering. You're the one who's the victim. The perpetrators have already moved on. They're probably causing damage and pain and suffering to lots of other people. But in your life, your world, it's the wounds are still there from long, long ago. So it's kind of like a battle, and it's your battle, and it's good that you're here to share, okay? And where you can understand that all men are not evil. Not all men are evil. Not all women are evil. You can almost forget the gender here. This is just the energy of mastery, of inspiration, dignity, self-respect, power, pride, integrity, good energy. And understanding that you don't have to be, it's like, just imagine, like, okay, so I know it looks like a scary card to end the reading, but this is like a blessing, because an indication to remind yourself that the trauma bond is very powerful, and every now and again, it's going to rise to the surface like a wound that gets triggered now and again. Like I have serious issues with sciatica and spinal damage, other health issues that get triggered, and it's very frightening when that comes up. But I deal with it because I overcome. I lean into the energy that's above and beyond me. This is almost like God energy. God energy, spirit, heaven, your angels, your guardians that are there for you. Okay? So, it's like, I think the key theme here is to remember life lies ahead of you. Okay, we're dealing with heavy retrogrades right now. Huge retrogrades, not just Mercury, it's Saturn, Pluto, Neptune, okay? But life is ahead of you. And you do not have to be perpetually living at the mercy of a trauma bond to the past. This will eventually fade and disappear, okay? So, let's move on. I'm going to clear this up. I'm going to do another reading. Okay, dokie. Give me a second here. Little Bubba is in a food coma, I'm happy to say. Ivona, hello. Alright, so we're going to read for Fluffles now. Wait a minute, I just saw something. What was that? Hello, Ivona. Anuradha. Anuradha, I'm already booked up for the evening. I can only usually do 2 or 3 readings on the Sunday night show. But you're welcome. If you want to book something in private, I'll just show you quickly over here. You can go to TarotLumination.com. You can go to the donate page, or you can go to the readings page and you can schedule and book and pay for a reading. Do it that way, and I'll set you up with all the mechanisms and the Zoom stuff to do that. And I don't know if Diana is still here, but I know I sent some emails to you, Diana, but we can connect during the week, okay? Because I certainly won't be able to do it tonight, and it looks like you booked a full reading. Okay? Hello, Ivona. Yeah, so... yeah, we can do that, however you want to do it. We can do a little live mini one, or we can do one in private during the week. Okay? Alrighty. Alright, so that helps you. Hope that helps you. All right, now we are going to do a reading for Fluffles, and I forgot her notes. I think she said something about a place where she hangs out. Let me just check up here. I have to scroll way back in the chat. Doopy-doo. When did Fluffles... Give me a second here. I'm just scrolling through the chat, okay? Doopy-doo. Hey, there she is. Hi, Fluffles. Got you. Okay. So, you donated and... Okay, there, I see the note. It says, I would like a blind reading based on places I frequent. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Alright, let's have a look here. So, Fluffles, you know the routine. We've worked together before a few times. It helps tremendously if you can, like, in a very vivid, three-dimensional way, invite your invisible friends to get close up. Imagine we're at a campfire, and it's all about you right now. We've all got our own invisible friends, and it's like a force field. It's like an energy field. It amplifies and amplifies. You know, when you have all of us together like this. Okay, a particular place. Okay, so here we go. It's very, very simple. Dear, wonderful, beautiful tarot cards. What kind of messages do we have for Fluffles tonight regarding her presence at a particular place? Cards are nice and pristine. Let's have a look here. All right. Okay, let's see. Regarding that place, here we go. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges with all of that, and here's how we're going to handle it. And let's have a look at the external influences. You know, because like right now with the planets and everything, the external influences are very powerful, and it can easily take us like off center. It's like trying to, you know, go for a walk in a hurricane or a tornado or something. You might think you can manage it, but you might get blown sideways or up and down or wherever. And here's the externals. Let's have a look. So we've got the Seven of Swords. My feeling here is that, well, obviously you have to be very careful because there's a lot of potential for deception, theft, misunderstanding. But there's also another side to this where if you look at it in terms of, I would say, absolutes. In other words, forget whether there's a negative or a positive expression of the Seven of Swords. A lot of people interpret this with a kind of unhealthy negative expression. There's another expression which is more to do with like, you're going to have to find ways to be very sneaky, very, very clever to get through, get around, to get done what has to be done. Perhaps if it especially includes reclaiming that which is yours. For example, if something was stolen from you, perhaps your respect or your dignity or your integrity, maybe it's time to get it back again. But you don't want to... It's like you have to be very careful. They call it a double-edged sword. Let me just check in with you. Hold on. What I'm sensing here is it's like a very... It's a very delicate situation where there you are, you're living your life, going to your places, people to see, things to say, things to do, exchange, wanting to be happy in your environment, in your world, in your place. And I think you said public places. Okay, so let's say you have a history there, and certain things have gone on where you might feel as though you've been betrayed or undermined in some way. And so that doesn't feel good. It can feel like somebody's stealing from you. Somebody is like maneuvering behind your back. Maybe they're saying nice things to your face and backstabbing you at the same time. Okay? So there would be let's say something negative like that's going on in the background. A little bit diffuse. Maybe it's very precise and you know exactly what we're talking about. We don't have to talk about that here. I'm just talking about the energy field itself, the environment. So with the Seven of Swords, it could also indicate a neutral kind of pathway where what's that expression? How does it go? Like if people are like secretly trying to mess with you and they're hoping that you take the bait because they want to see you. It's like baiting an animal, you know, like some people are nasty. They might present themselves as very nice or perfectly okay people, but they might have a certain vindictive, nasty streak where left unevolved, they can flip. It's like I've known some, here's an example. I'm not going to name names or anything, but I have a couple of dear friends and family members and stuff that I love very, very dearly. They love me, I love them. But there's a couple of things that they've done that to me are unforgivable, and I never imagined it. And it was to do with the mistreatment of animals. And I saw a side of their nature which shocked me. And I thought, I am going to retaliate. Like, how would you like to feel that? What you just did to that animal. And then I thought, no, I'm not God, I'm not going to judge. I just stayed neutral. So with this particular Seven of Swords card for you, external energies, my feeling is that it's just like you got to be smart about this. If you already know in advance that barbs are coming at you, what do you do? If they zig, do you zag? If they bait you, do you take the bait? I mean, you could even flip it around. I remember I've seen some amazing events with animals, raptors, eagles and stuff, where an eagle landed in a neighborhood where I lived, took over just a young baby eagle, but it was a monster. And the other birds were terrified and angry, and they tried to attack this eagle. And it was an amazing spectacle. And this eagle just kind of sat there like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Like, get off of me. Like, And the eagle flew away after a while. And then the eagle came back. And then when the eagle came back, there were 10 times more crows and blackbirds than before. And this time the eagle just sat there. And just like, oh, this is weird. Okay. And nothing happened. The eagle just sat there, and eventually the crows realized they cannot intimidate or take this person down. So it was boring. It became boring, like, oh, it's not working. Oh. So it's like with the Seven of Swords, I'm sensing like unconventional warfare, unconventional strategies in order to feel comfortable in the environment where you are, where it might almost feel like you're betraying yourself. In other words, if somebody or there were an environment, you perceive the environment as something like sneaky or treacherous just happened, and you can spot it, instead of taking it personally, you can rise above it and like go, oh, yeah, almost like laugh at the situation. I'm going to use an extreme example right now where it's not even showing off or anything. It's just like, it's almost self-demeaning in a way, where it's like confessing to the perpetrators, like, I know sometimes people misconstrue who I am, they take my energy the wrong way, and I know I offend people, or I know that people, there's jibes and stuff going on, but what can you do? Life is what it is. This is what happens in public places. And it's like, in other words, it's like diffusing a situation. The other thing is to, let me just go back over here. Sorry, I'm getting out of my depth a little bit. Let's get back to basics. In the environment at this place, I would not trust certain people. There are certain people or elements of this place that are essentially disrespectful, and they're trying to steal from you what they can. Now, at the same time, reverse that energy. It's like, how do you go back and recover that which was stolen from you? I'm not going to give an example right now, but it's something to think about. How do you, in a very, very subtle way, perhaps not so subtle way, but with swords, I'm thinking about words, the power of words, the spoken word, where something comes out of your mouth that's unconventional for you and unconventional for the other parties, the perpetrators, the thieves, the scammers, the sneaky deviants, and it catches them off guard, where they think twice ever again about going after you. I don't know what that would be. Let's just keep going. What's the situation itself? Okay, so with the Six of Cups here, my feeling is that somehow or other, for whatever reason, you have a deep affection for this place. Because even though there might be some sort of something uncomfortable or unpleasant that's going on inside this place, there's something more valuable and more important to you than what's going on. And that's why you're kind of in this stand your ground position, where the barbs may be flying, but you're trying not to take it too personally, because there's a reason. Perhaps, I don't know how old this place is. If it's more than 50, 60, 70 years old, this is going to sound very, very strange, but you might have been there before in a previous life. I was talking to Love Triber the other day about past lives, and I know I've had a lot of past lives, and some of them I can identify very, very clearly. And I know in my present life today, I reincarnated from a previous life that was literally probably not more than a couple of years from the moment that I departed this earth and reincarnated. Okay? You speak out. Okay, so with this Six of Swords, my feeling is that this is going to sound really off the charts, okay, Fluffles? But my feeling is that you have a past life connection to this place. I don't know how old it is. Even if it's a very modern place, if it was built on top of an older place that was demolished, 30, 50, 70 years ago, then the energy of the old place is still there. And you may have had a deep affection because some beautiful things happened there with you and people that you hold dear. But in today's, right now, in the here and now, right now, that may not exist. Maybe the resonant energy is there and you like to enjoy that. So, I understand. There are places that I used to love to go in Los Angeles, but the energy changed. But I love those places so much that I would go there anyway, even though I started to feel like an outsider, because of previous experience where I had built a deep affection for the place. Anyway, what are the challenges here? Hold on, let's see. You got a load of notes. I'm a minute behind, but I get it. I'm in a super blue state. Yeah. I go in with my USA sweatshirt on, of course, if you're asking for trouble, and I have the right to that, or I'm dealing with someone who's drunk or at odds on something, I speak out. Okay. And that puts you as the person who doesn't get along well with others. I'm super nice, but I'm not going to be stepped on. Oh my God, notes flying in. Hold on. She's got good memories there, but the people and energy have changed. Oh my God. You got a good point there, Necessary. There's a lot of stuff in California now that, as much as I love LA, much as I love California, I've been a lot of places in California, traveled a lot. I love it. But it's been ruined. It's been absolutely destroyed and ruined by certain entities, people, policies, strategies. Okay. It's a horrible feeling. But anyway, and so I'm reading the notes here, and most people love me. And this place is my regular, and that I have to go to. I need to figure out how to get along. But I almost got asked, like, do not come in here since we're in sensitive times. Well, that is the reality, okay? We know about the Pluto energy right now. It's creating this fundamental polarity. That's Pluto energy. It's the energy of extremes. Extremes to the extremes of the extreme. Yes, no. Black, white, in, out, on, off, left, right, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, tyranny versus freedom. It's becoming very blunt and very obvious. And a lot of that energy is happening unconsciously inside people, inside communities. And it's happening very strongly in California. Now, you also have to remember that in California, there are a lot of conservatives, okay? A lot. It's in the inner cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Sacramento, and a bit of San Diego, where there's some extreme, hardcore communist entities. And that's what's destroying California, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just calling it out. That's what I see. And they don't like conservative Americans who wear USA shirts, okay? You guess you're an asshole. Okay. Well, I have a feeling that this place that you love so dearly is definitely being occupied and visited by some people who are on a very, very different wavelength to the way things might have been 10, 20, 30 years ago. What are the challenges here? Well, you've already spelt them out. An extreme, severe lack of happiness that used to be yours by divine right, because you used to be in the right place at the right time with the right people for the right reasons. And that's why you love the place. You love the place. You love it. It's almost like a second home from home. I've had that experience in my life, Fluffles, so I understand completely. And then things change. People change. Politics change. Circumstances change. History changes. And now, a lot of this is gone. You might carry it with you deep inside, but from the things that you've been describing, a lot of this isn't there anymore. And that's very sad. So how are we going to proceed? Okay, this is fun. Let's You had a transgender woman after hitting on me twice, yell at the managers that I was transphobic because I told her I was strictly dickly. And I told the managers. I didn't yell at the managers. Oh boy. Well, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in California. This man was a woman. And then another story here, there was a woman who was herding out her dog outside, and I called it out. What are you going to do? Yeah, I guess you're the asshole. Yep, okay. Anyway, sorry. Well, let's see. How are we going to deal with things moving forward? My feeling is that if one way to go with the Page of Wands thing is treat this as a learning experience. And there's no reason to holding on. There's no reason why you shouldn't continue to love the place, but not necessarily the people. It might be okay to continue to be an asshole, and then you become the ceremonial asshole of the place, and everybody knows it. As soon as you walk in the door, oh, there she is. Yeah, there she is. And then all of a sudden you get surrounded by a bunch of, I don't know, rainbow people, and they start going at you. You can kind of play dumb. You can kind of play dumb, like I say, like very calmly say, you know what? I have my rights to be here. I love this place. I've been coming here a long time. And I'm just here to enjoy myself and hang out. And I'm sorry that you don't like me, or who I am, or what I represent. I'm on my own learning curve too, but I'm not trying to force my agenda on you. And then you can, I don't know, calmly get up and walk away and reseat, okay? So there's still a lot to learn here. This makes me feel like, dear Fluffles, makes me feel that yes, it's kind of tragic about what's happening, but there is this really profound love that you carry here. And it's perfectly okay to hold on to that. Now, my feeling here is that you can personally learn and grow from the situation. Even though you've got these... Okay, you'll have to go back to the beginning of the reading, Fluffles, when you weren't here, but I was talking about eagles and crows, okay? So you have to rewind and re-listen to all of that. You are above this, okay? You are above this. Yes, it may be sad right now, but my feeling is that there's still so much to learn. And my feeling is that we're going to live through this and we're going to come out the other side, because in the short term, I'm talking the next 6 months to a year, you might discover that this place that you love so dearly is going to change profoundly. It can happen. What can happen is something like this. If you looked around in your community, you might discover that there are like-minded souls to your own. And you're wearing your USA shirt. And then you find another person like, hey, I know you got your pro-America shirt on. Hey, do you want to come and hang out with me? I've got this great place where I love to hang out. And I'd love to get to know you guys, get better, and create a bit of a community. And who's that friend you're with? Oh, you want to restore the Constitution? You want common sense back to America? You know what? Come on, let's go. Let's go to all three of us. I'll pick you up. No, I'll meet you there. Well, here's the place where I go. I'll put it on a post-it note. I'll meet you there Thursday night. I'll meet you there on the 17th. And we'll all hang out, okay? And suddenly, you're at the place. You walk in the door. There's you with a bunch of other comrades. Do you see what I'm getting at here, Fluffles? where you could learn so much and it could be fun. And it's like flipping things around where you turn the Seven of Swords something to think about, all right? Just a suggestion. Lots of opportunity for learning and growing, okay? All right. We're going to shuffle up and then we're going to read for Gregory. No, this is not the Hermit. This is the Page of Wands. Youthful, inspired hopefulness, okay? So Gregory, you're up. Thank you again for your kind generosity. So Fluffles, it sounded like you weren't here at the early part of the reading. What I was trying to say, Fluffles, is you have to go way back to the beginning of your reading. I was trying to tell a story about something I observed in one of my old neighborhoods. A story about a huge baby eagle and how it came into a new strange neighborhood, and it sent the local population of birds absolutely berserk. The pigeons didn't really care. They kind of whizzed around for a while. They thought this was cool. But the crows and the blackbirds and the ravens, they went absolutely savage, ballistic on this baby eagle. And the eagle was like, what's this? What's this? And the eagle would sit there on the top of this telephone pole in a very majestic posture. And now and again, the eagle would kind of go, and then suddenly all the crows and the blackbirds and the ravens would just disappear, like, ah! Okay? I'm not saying you have to do that, but at the end of your reading, what I was trying to suggest is that you're above this stuff. You're above the problem. You have the right to love your place and carry that love anyway. Be loving, be loved. You might as well celebrate and enjoy it. Maybe deliberately seek out your own kind and invite them there to be with you and enjoy the place with you. Invite them for the show. I invite them, basically tell them, hey, listen, watch what happens when we walk through the door. It's going to be hilarious. Do you see the gist of where I'm going? I'm not saying make it over the top or deliberate, but don't be shy about, here's an example. Give me here's something. like in the prepper and the self-defense community, okay? There are people who are all out there, okay? I'm very proud of this. This was a gift from Path Traveler. Every now and again, I wear this out on the street with tremendous pride, and I don't care what people think or don't think. I just don't care. I know there are plenty of folks like this in Las Vegas, but they frequently don't, share it this openly. If I wore this in LA, I'd probably get mugged. And then, if you wanted to be more subtle, let's say you did invite a bunch of new friends along who were all on your wavelength, you could be a lot more subtle. In other words, you don't have to come in blazing. You could come in with something like, like a little, I don't know if you can see it. Here, hold on, stay there, Fluffles. I'm just trying to emphasize a strategy that I was trying to suggest in order to take full advantage of the Page of Wands and just have fun with it. See, I got this. It's subtle, but it gets the message across. This is my STP hat. Serenity, tranquility, and peace. Some of you might know this as an auto parts company. Anyway. So yeah, I'm sorry about YouTube. YouTube is in quite a bit of trouble right now because of their politics and Google being going through Congress now, being held up as a monopoly, and antitrust laws coming out against Google and YouTube. So I'm kind of happy about that. All right. All right, Gregory, you're up. Let's get to work, man. All right, cards are well shuffled. I hope you're doing okay, Mr. Ross. Let's have a look here. This is going to be a totally blind reading. Alright, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle things. Now, pretty much everyone here, we all know Gregory. You all know he's been going through a very long, slow process of evolution himself, morphing from one life into another. And when you're living, seeing everything from a day-to-day perspective, a lot of times it doesn't make sense. So how do you zoom out, way, way, way out into the stratosphere and beyond, right into outer space, and you take another perspective, you realize, okay, it's a journey. Okay. Like there's life in the moment, there's where you are, and there's where there's life in the present, the ever healing power of now. There was where you were, and then there's where you're going. Saturn represents time, but on the bigger scale, time becomes irrelevant when you cross over to the other side. Of course, we know that. Yeah. So some people in the prepper community, they basically say, oh, you have to be a gray person. Like, hold on a second, Gregory, we'll be right there. Because I like to watch some of the prepper people to learn things about survival and, food, self-defense, water, energy, strategies, tactics. And some of them And I mean, it's definitely a survival strategy. When things get very, very ugly outside the front door, it probably the last thing you want to do is display your allegiance, your nature, your identity. Like if you carry a self-defense tool, do you want that to be blazoned all over you, or do you want it to be subtle or invisible? If you are very conservative and you like the American flag, respect the American flag and the Constitution, do you want that plastered all over your shirts and tattoos and hats and everything? I do a little bit. Every now and again, I like to basically tell the world I love my freedom, and so on and so on. But some of the preppers are like, no. No logos, no distinctive markings, nothing to indicate that you're anybody or anything special. Just disappear into the crowd. It's definitely a way to survive. It's definitely a survival strategy, but that's not going to work for you, Fluffles. All right. Here we go. All right, Mr. Ross. Man, did anybody hear from Tina Miller? I hope she's okay. She's been through a tremendous amount of upheavals herself. She's the one, as you know, she's got these two huge... Is it two? Yeah, I think it was 3, but it's now 2 huge German Shepherds. All right, let's have a look. Campfire, everybody gather round. Bless Mr. Ross. Bless the deck. Bless every single card. What's going on here? What's the situation? No. Hold on. Let's have a look at the external environment. So we've got the 8 of Pentacles here. My feeling is that, especially with the Scorpio moon right now, a little bit of a gentle emphasis on finance and values. Okay? Especially right now, at the moment, the moon is almost exactly opposite Uranus. So on the global scale, it's the global financial system, but that lands somewhere in everybody's chart. It's not exact right now, but what will happen is there will be a red line here as the Scorpio moon opposes Uranus. Actually, we're very, very close to it. It's going to be here. Okay? So it's going to emphasize values, belief systems, and how do you feel about your existing values and belief systems? How are they founded? What is the structure? A lot of our values and belief systems come through our very early childhood, the environment in which we were born, how we were raised, conditioned, influenced. That stays with us our whole life. For some people, if there's a lot of, let's say, conflict and disruption, and you were, let's say, impregnated or indoctrinated in a certain value system that deep in your heart and soul you know or you feel is very, very unhealthy, how do you undoctrinate yourself? How do you decontaminate yourself? It's a lifelong journey. And it's work. It's never-ending work. It's a never-ending task, a never-ending chore to, I would say, reconstitute your value and your values, how you see what is it that you value, what is money, where does it come from, what do you do with it, how does it come in, how does it go out, what is the significance. And going forward, it's nice to have a sense of value, meaning, purpose, and value where it makes sense. In other words, if I'm spending this much time and this much energy doing something that generates a potential revenue, Is this the actual correct path for me, for you? So I feels like there's a big question mark here. Let's look forward now, because we've been looking very far. We're in deep heavy retrogrades. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and this is an amazing opportunity to strip everything apart. It's something that I love to do: take things apart and rebuild them and make them better. So it's like self-examination, starting to look forward in life. How is my value system? How much of it is on autopilot from conditioning? And what is my true value system? What are my values and beliefs today, live, right now? And what's that going to look like down the road, tomorrow, the day after, next week, next month, next year? It has to make sense in a way that's three-dimensional, grounded, and healthy for you. All right. So money, values, value systems, and the feeling of being having active practice that's worthwhile is very important now. It's a really important topic. Let's have a look. What's the situation? More pentacles. So, with pentacles here in this situation, there's a tremendous energy of partnership going forward in terms of creating a new world, a new structure, a new life, a new environment for yourself. What does that look like? And I think the hidden message here is that you can't do this on your own. It's time to, let's say, allow yourself to dissolve a little bit more into your local environment, your society, your world, in a way that's much more healthy and appropriate for you, where you resonate with people who are your own kind, and that resonates with itself, and you start attracting people who match your value systems, your values and your beliefs in such a way that it feels more and more healthy. And start removing yourself from dynamics and very important financial relationships that are no longer appropriate or healthy for you. You can't function without them. They can't function without you. So instead of having unhealthy financial relationships and dynamics, it's about finding healthy relationship dynamics where you contribute to something and you receive the reciprocal reward, because that something involves other people, other entities, business partners perhaps, where you become a valuable component to them, and they respect that by acknowledging that you are a valuable component to them with the reciprocal reward. So it's, what do they call it? It's not codependency, it's interdependency. It's like when you have business partnerships that are mutually beneficial. You benefit them, they benefit you, and that turns into something of value, something new, okay? Something being created. It starts with ideas, conversations, plans, dynamics. What are we going to do? How are we going to do this? Oh, okay. Now, what are the challenges here? Excuse me. Challenges. Okay. It's lack of definition. Like you have a powerful imagination. You have dreams, aspirations, desires, wishes, just like everyone else. This is a very powerful Piscean energy. The unhealthy side of that energy, because this is very, look at it two ways. Sometimes I call this the Einstein card, where you deliberately tap into the world of the artist, divinity, divine inspiration, and instead of trying to calculate what does this look like in three-dimensional reality, you ask for divine inspiration, divine guidance. Messages coming to you through dreams, messages coming to you through the day. Like, a lot of people talk about, oh my God, I saw all these numbers today. I saw a 333, a 444, a 555, a 666, and a 777. That means the universe is talking to you. So, it means wake up, pay attention. What are the signals that are coming to you from your invisible friends, your guardian angels? How are they guiding you? Understand that you are guided and you are protected, but it works by invitation. You have to ask for the guidance. Like, I would like to be guided. I would like to be protected. Dear invisible friends, please bring to me that which is mine. Please bring to me that which is mine. Please take away from me that which is not mine, so I can get on with life, get on with business, the business of my life. And those messages would come through divine inspiration. That's how Einstein figured out E equals mc squared. Of course, he was already a very advanced physicist, but he could not figure it out until it came to him as a divine symbol in the dream language. He actually saw it as a symbol, E equals mc squared, and then he had to reverse engineer that. What the hell is that? E equals mc squared? And then he kind of went, oh my God! Is it really that simple? Energy equals mass times acceleration squared. Okay? That's it. Okay? Now that the problem here, that's accessing divine inspiration can be a little bit tricky at times, okay? And that same energy field could easily devolve into divine delusion, where you can feel lost, hopeless, confused, where what's up and what's down, what's left and what's right. Who do I trust? Does anybody trust me? Do I trust anybody? Am I the one who's out of whack? Or is it everyone else who's out of whack? I don't know. Obviously, we want to tap into the good stuff here. So let's see how we're going to move forward. Okay, so with the Five of Cups, of course, some people call this a card of tragedy, a loss. One of the things about this, I don't know whether it's an immediate thing with a person or a friend or your life path or something like that, but it's almost like, this is going to sound awful. You might not like this, Gregory, but it might be appropriate to embrace the energy, accept it for what it is, give yourself permission to have a breakdown and allow whatever pain and suffering and grief you may be experiencing, because whatever did not work about life up to this moment in time, that's history. It's gone. Gone. Life is moving forward here about creating a new life with new people, perhaps in a different way, a different manner than what you're used to. But that means perhaps letting go of the past, even though you have given everything and beyond, because you are, by nature, you're a compassion junkie. You are loving and you are loved, but it didn't necessarily mean that you were respected or appreciated in the way that was appropriate. Okay? And that's tragic, because we all know that you're awesome. You know that you're awesome in your own way, but it would be so nice to feel appreciated in that way. And when it didn't happen accordingly in a way that's just and honest and fair, that's the energy of tragedy. So it's good to embrace it. Allow, I would say, allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to feel that, because it would be like an unburdening. And remember that the show is not over, okay? What I see here is definitely signals, lights, signs towards the future. But there are serious question marks about the future, because it's not yet clearly defined. It's not yet clearly defined because you have not received yet the divine guidance that you need, okay? But it is there. To access the divinity, to access the divine, okay, it has to be a little bit of an invocation. You know, I ask for the healing power of love to fill my body, mind, heart, and soul from above. I ask for divine guidance. Please, dear guardian angels, please bring to me that which is mine. Please take away from me that which is not mine. I don't want to have to deal with confusion and delusion anymore. I want reality. And I admit that some of my past sucks. And I'm pissed and sad and angry. Okay? I admit it. But I want to move on. So the way to, like, if you insist on trying to hide this, pretend that it's not there, then it makes it very hard for this to manifest. Okay? Because this would be like an energy blocker. So it's better to it's to release. And you know, we've all gone through phases where we just have a complete emotional breakdown. And it's very, very painful. Nobody wants to do this. Guys especially hate doing it. Guys, a lot of guys are programmed, born and raised. You must bury this at all cost. Otherwise you are showing your weakness. Okay? But it's okay to cry. Okay? I remember, that's okay, that's your reading, all right, Gregory? But I want to jump forward just a second here. I can't remember the exact setting for this reading. Not this reading here, but for something I was watching online in the morning when I do all my homework. And it was Donald Trump talking very frankly and very openly with some people or an interviewer or something like that. And the interviewer asked, you know, very blunt, open questions. And Donald loves people. It almost like doesn't matter what you say, or who you are, how you are, why you are the way you are. He just accepts things and people the way they are. And so someone basically asked him this question, whatever it was. It clearly touched a nerve in Donald. And of course he has massive composure. He has a mind-boggling aura that is incredibly powerful and bright and loving. Some people hate that. But that's what he has. But whoever it was who was talking with him pierced that aura, and it struck the nerve somewhere. And you could see in his demeanor that Donald was very close to tears. But he kept it all back because of wanting to maintain composure in a public setting, you know, where he was being filmed. But you could tell. In private, maybe he would release and let go. I remember watching the other day, a while back, there's a guy I like. His name is Carl Higbie, and he is on Newsmax, and he really calls it out regarding the truth. He does not appreciate bogus people, lies, deception, betrayal, all this stuff, a lot of the stuff that's coming out of some of the radical communists in America right now. And he calls it out, And at this particular show, it was relating to something to do with his military background and how, I don't know whether he was watching some of his friends die or some of his buddies died, and how he was not willing to tolerate politicians trying to exploit heroic stories to make the politicians sound and look and feel amazing, when in fact the story is bogus. That's you don't do that. If you're a truly pure and loving person, you don't do that. And it struck a nerve with Carl, and you could see just before the cameras went off, Carl, he was starting to cry because it really, really hurt him. And these guys, like Donald, is so powerful. Okay, Carl is very powerful too. He has a massive aura. You would not want to be on the receiving end of Carl in a bad situation where you're the bad guy. You wouldn't make it. Anyway, I was just trying to get my point across, okay, Gregory? So, you're okay, you're going to be okay. You're going through a phase, you're going through a chapter. It's evolution. These retrogrades are ripping the world apart. Billions and billions of people, societies, politicians, environments, banks, markets, bankers, value systems, values, money, countries being ripped apart. Okay? Same thing is happening with people. All right, so that's it. We're going to wrap it up, folks. I'm just going to literally clear the deck here. We've really touched on some nerves here tonight. That's what I'm sensing. Personally, I am okay because I'm just trying to stay neutral. I'm just basically the reader here. But I do feel things. I do have empathy. I do have compassion. But it's not, I don't feel it's appropriate for me to wallow into that stuff. I understand that some of you are in a lot of pain. You've had to endure a lot of pain. You may still be in the midst of a lot of pain. But there is light and love and hope. It's right there. Okay? It does exist. Even in the darkest moments, it's there. All right. So we'll leave it at that. And we will bow out discreetly, gracefully.